Ink ribbon.
Puzzle design is hard. If you don't believe me, go ahead and try designing not only a puzzle, but a good one that's not too hard, but also not too easy, and that makes sense with the game. Game designers often get a lot of flack for puzzle design, but in these cases, they really are some strange and confusing choices that nobody should have ever had to deal with. Here are the top 10 WTF puzzles in gaming.
Number 10.
Water Sample, Resident Evil 3. While this one isn't really hard, it's mainly just annoying and unnecessary. On top of that, it doesn't really make any sense to begin with. Why does a water sample need to be tested to unlock a door? Why is testing water done via matching up blocks into an identical pattern? Why is Jill wearing a tube top and a miniskirt? We may never know.
Number 9.
Owl, Metal Gear 2. Late in the game, you find yourself blocked by a laser fence. You can't get through because a guard is patrolling, so you try to find another way only to realize there isn't one. Or is there? The only hint you get is a kid telling you that the gate shuts off at night. The obvious thing to do is wait for night, but in the NES days of games there was no day and night system, and that includes this game. So, what do? You find a well-guarded egg, equip it to keep it warm, wait for the egg to hatch into an owl, and let the owl's hoots trick the guards into thinking it's nighttime. What?
Number 8.
Rubber Ducky, Longest Journey. In this adventure game, you stumble upon an electrified key on the tracks of a subway. Simple enough, right? Well, obviously you need to head back to your apartment and mess around with some water pressure valves. Obviously you need to remove the clamp attached to it, which releases water everywhere. Obviously you have to use the ring your dad gave you for your 16th birthday to conduct electricity to loosen the clamp. So to save us all time and headache, I will sum up the rest. Look out your window, drop some breadcrumbs to attract seagulls who puncture a rubber ducky, which then floats away. Then you track it down and reinflate it, then tie a clothesline to the clamp after placing it into the ducky and keeping it inflated with a band-aid. Now head all the way back to the subway, remove the band-aid, lower the clamp duck onto the key, and let the deflating process allow the clamp to grab the key. And keep in mind, this is towards the beginning of the game.
Number 7.
Garlic Bottles, Professor Layton and the Diabolical Box. So the game presents a puzzle where you have to follow a path to the bottles and use corks to prevent a vampire from smelling garlic. This is the kind of stuff you'd see on a cereal box and could probably solve in a minute. But no matter which bottles you use the cork on, they will not block the garlic smell. So what do? You stick the corks in the guy's nose, of course. It sounds easy enough, but if you're a kid playing this on a family road trip with no Wi-Fi, it's simply not fair.
Number 6.
Chamber 18, Portal. Regarded as the most annoying and frustrating part of Portal, this chamber is insanely difficult, relying on the player to be fast, figuring out the portal puzzles which on their own are difficult, and then using the physics engine in really non-obvious ways. This level basically throws everything the game has at you all at once. In fact, this level is so difficult that if you take too long, GLaDOS will simply open the door for you.
Number 5.
Braille Puzzle, Pokemon Ruby and Pokemon Sapphire. It's a safe bet to assume blind people don't play video games, right? Well, the folks who made this Pokemon game don't care because you have to be able to read Braille to get past it. On top of this, the game never tells you that it's Braille, instead just having random Braille that you have to translate on your own. Assuming you figured it out, you then track down the cave only to realize that you now have to search the world for 3 doors that totally blend into the background, which then give you even more Braille. Nintendo made these puzzles much easier in the enhanced versions. Lesson learned.
Number 4.
Gnome's Name, King's Quest. In this game, you meet an old gnome who says you must guess his name. If you're familiar with the fairy tale, then you already know his name is Rumpelstiltskin, right? Well, yes and no. He gives you a hint and tells you to think backwards. Oh, just spell his name backwards, right? Again, yes and no. What you need to do is cross-convert all the letters using backwards alphabet cipher to spell his name as Duh.
Number 3.
Shakespeare, Silent Hill 3. People who read books and people who play video games tend to walk separate lines. That's why this puzzle is insane. By playing the game on the hardest riddle difficulty, you come across this puzzle, which is the first puzzle in the game, where you have to get a passcode for a door from some books. Except this time, you literally need to intimately know Shakespeare and analyze several stanzas in order to decipher them and get a 5-digit code. The problem is, the door needs a 4-digit code. So then you have to use the last stanza to eliminate one number, which in order to do so, you need to know characters from Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, and Hamlet.
Number 2.
Water Temple, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Even if you don't play Legend of Zelda, you've probably heard of this one. Regarded as the most difficult and confusing level in all of gaming, the Water Temple requires that you swim up, sink down, enter rooms, re-enter rooms from different directions, push blocks, and repeatedly backtrack while most rooms are very similar in appearance. This makes it very easy to get lost and be unsure which room or even which floor you're on. As you can see by this diagram, it is indeed WTF.
Number 1.
Phone Puzzle, PT. If you were one of the lucky people to play the PT demo released for the now cancelled Silent Hills game on PS4, then you already know this one. In fact, you may not have even solved it yet. In PT, you have to trigger several events to unlock a door and end the demo, but in very strange ways. In the age of the internet, we are used to being able to just look up answers for puzzles, but in the case of PT, the problem was nobody knew exactly how to trigger the events. While it's still up for debate, the general consensus is that you must utilize the voice recognition of the PS4, walk a certain amount of steps, wait for specific sound cues, and even at some points of the demo you have to stay absolutely still without hitting any buttons for 2 to 6 minutes. All these things are what a normal person would never ever do, making it all the more difficult. But this brought gamers across the world together to figure it out, so that's this puzzle's silver lining. And that's it for the most WTF puzzles in gaming. Is there a puzzle that you think should be on this list? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm Kai Morgan, and as always, thanks for watching Ink Ribbon.